Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. If anyone here represents a media agency, please contact Mark N. I'd like to read our unity statement. The members of the North Central Indiana area of Narcotics Anonymous welcome you to the 3rd annual We Grow with Love convention. We would like to thank you for joining us in the celebration of recovery. We are deeply grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and find great joy in being able to express our gratitude here with you, our family. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are certain that when we come together to share our lives and our love with each other, a miracle happens. Our recovery takes hard work, courage, and commitment. Those are the things that carry us through as we seek the spiritual growth that comes from working the 12 steps. Never alone, we do this together and for each other, knowing that we need each other, because more than anything else, we grow with love. The preface to the basic text begins, "The full fruit of a labor of love lives in the harvest, and that always comes in its right season. For us, our season has come." Bruce, were you going to read just for today?
Yeah, I can do that.
No, is that what you have right there?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Could you please read it?
Yeah. What's today? 27th, right. Hi, I'm Bruce. I'm an addict.
Hey, Bruce.
May 27th, meeting the day's challenge. The decision to ask for God's help is our greatest source of strength and courage. Basic text, page 26. A challenge is anything that dares us to succeed. Things new and unfamiliar serve as challenges, whether those things appear good or bad to us. We are challenged by obstacles and opposition from within ourselves and from without. New and difficult things, obstacles, and opposition are a part of life on life's terms. Living clean means learning to meet challenge. Many of us consciously or unconsciously took drugs to avoid meeting challenge. Many of us were equally afraid of failure and success. Each time we declined the day's challenge, we suffered a loss of self-esteem. Some of us used drugs to mask the shame we felt. Each time we did that, we became even less able to meet our challenges and more likely to use. By working the NA program, we found the tools we need to successfully meet any challenge. We've come to believe in a power greater than ourselves, a power that cares for our will and our lives. We've asked that power to remove our character defects, those things that made our lives unmanageable. We've taken action to improve our conscious contact with that higher power. Through the steps, we've been given the ability to stop using drugs and start living. Each day we are faced with new challenges, and each day, through working our program of recovery, we are given the grace to meet those challenges. Just for today, I will ask my higher power to help me squarely meet today's challenges.
Thanks.
The end.
The workshop that we're doing today is Fear or Faith, and our speakers are Bruce and Dennis. And I'd like to introduce them. Before we open the floor for sharing, after they speak, I want to remind everybody that they're being taped. And if you do not wish to be taped, please let me know so that we can turn off the machine. And I think that's it for now. It's up to you. I think, Bruce, you're going to...
Hi.
Hi.
What an introduction. Hi, my name is Bruce. I'm an addict. Hey, grateful to be here this morning. Fear or faith, it's a good topic. When I was asked to speak, that was the first one they asked me to and I said that one sounds good. I know I just read something out of the Just for Today, but I'm going to read something else because it's so cool. Fear. January 15th is where this is at in our Just for Today book. We grow to feel comfortable with our higher power as a source of strength. As we learn to trust this power, we begin to overcome our fear of life. Basic text, page 24. Powerless as we are, living on self-will is a frightening, unmanageable experience. In recovery, we have turned our will and our lives safely over to the care of God as of our understanding. When we lapse in our program, when we lose conscious contact with our higher power, we begin to take control of our own lives again. Refusing the care of God of our understanding, if we do not make a daily decision to surrender our lives to the care of our higher power, we may become overwhelmed with our fear of life. Through working the 12 steps, we found that faith in a power greater than ourselves helps relieve our fear. As we draw closer to a loving God, we become more conscious of our higher power. And the more conscious we are of God's care for us, the less our fears. When we feel afraid, we ask ourselves, is this fear an indication of lack of faith in my life? Have I taken control again, only to find my life still unmanageable? If we answer yes to these questions, we can overcome our fear by turning our will and lives over to the care of God of our understanding. Just for today, I will rely on the care of my higher power to relieve my fear of life. As I grow in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I find that just as our book states, that when we draw closer to our God and become more God-centered and less self-centered, that I do feel less unafraid. And I know before I came to NA, or actually even in my early time in NA, I was full of fear. I didn't really know how to behave. I didn't know how to interact with anybody, and most of all, I didn't know how to feel comfortable with Bruce. Everything was a big task. Just to talk to somebody about just a regular situation was very difficult. I had lost the ability to communicate, and for that reason, I was afraid. When I was using drugs, I was afraid of life, and today I understand what kept me using is fear. Fear is, as I come to understand this program, fear is really the key feeling that has been manifested in all other avenues of our character defects. And being afraid was like a friend, it was a feeling that for the longest time, I didn't want to give up. It was very comfortable to feel afraid. I had done it for so long that to let go, just let go of that feeling, and then grab on to whatever. I had a difficult time doing it, and certainly this program for me works with you people. I couldn't be alive today. I couldn't manage my life at all without you people. And I guess just letting go and sometimes hanging on, and I say sometimes, but all the time, reaching out and letting you people be my strength, and really believing that my friends in NA are going to help me. And I'm very fortunate. I feel that I've been to a lot of meetings in a lot of people's homes, and I can hardly tell you a story when I had friends in NA tell me, you get out of here, we don't need your hurt, your pain, your nonsense, we don't need your whatever. I just haven't heard that. And through that love that I feel, at NA functions and NA meetings and on the phone, I have gained an understanding that NA will be there for me. That my friends in NA will be that strength that I just don't have most of the time. And a lot of times I can walk around giving off illusion of strength, when actually, I'm really just only as strong as the people next to me. And that's why I've chosen to remain. To come to NA, I don't know how big of a choice that was. I was falling down. I needed somewhere to go to just stand up. But I choose to remain in NA because it works in my life. And that everything I read in our readings that sounded so good in the beginning, and everything that you people have said that sounded so good, about smiling and believing, having hope, all those things that you were talking about and that I caught glimpses of in early recovery. And every once in a while, maybe every 5 days, it would come into my brain just for a minute. Hey, maybe I can have a better life. It slowly started getting better. And that fear has not gone, but it has diminished. And today, that's good enough. I don't know if it's possible to have no fear, but the fear that I feel in my life is not on a regular, ongoing, every moment basis like it used to be. Today I can take a situation that I am fearful of, and I can get on that phone, or I can get off to the side with somebody and share my feelings and not feel awkward and not feel less than. And I don't know about you, but I haven't been anywhere that it's comfortable to do that, and that gives me the ability to do it again and again and just be open and vulnerable and not feel like I made a mistake by opening up. Very rarely has that ever happened. A lot of good friends in my life today. Friends that I call regularly. Friends that I share my strangeness with, because I am strange at times. I have strange thinking. The behavior is getting a little better, but the thinking hasn't changed as much as I want it to. But I have friends that I can just share it all, and it's okay, and they tell me it's okay, and they give me avenues of change and growth. And by working this program, just like our readings tell us, for me, the fear is beginning to be replaced by faith. And I have some days when I'm just not afraid, and that my faith, and I'm talking to God, and everything is just right. And those kind of days, I don't know how much I need help. Those days are easy, I guess. But when it's a day I'm faced with a challenge that seems overwhelming, I get to my NA literature. A lot of times, just reading. I love this just for today. I like our basic text. It works how I, but I guess actually I love this book the best. It gives me insight, and it gives me a good understanding, and it keeps it so, it focuses on one thing, keeps it real short, and it's something I can meditate and pray on, each day. And I don't know about you, but this workshop started working for me last night. As soon as I was asked to share, I started thinking, well, I need to get to my literature, because I can screw things up. I can say things that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. And I try to stay with our literature because it's right, and the literature isn't twisted, and can't get things wrong. So I'm looking in the back, fear, faith, and I'm looking, some of these numbers in the book under fear are matched with the ones in faith. Some of them aren't, and some of them are. So I'm saying, I'll get the ones that are matched, and and it'll be good, So I'm reading this book. I must have read, 5 or 6, 7 different pages, and I'm feeling good, And this meeting starts today, and here I am on this meeting yesterday, preparing a little bit, and I got such, and then even this morning. I don't know what I'd be doing. I really don't. This morning, I don't know. I guess I might be here listening to you share. But, this meeting was working for me this morning when I got, I couldn't be late. I got to get at 7:30. I better tell my son, get me up at 7:30. And I didn't realize that bell is like going to do the job. But I was up and I wasn't late, and I'm here, and I'm in real good spirits because I read again these same 5, 7 pages. And they just gave me such a comfortable feeling, such a good feeling that, I'm really removed. I go camping a lot, and I know why, because it does remove me from my job and my phone bill and all the things that go with regular living. And to get away, I go on Boy Scout campouts, and it's cool, because it's camping, But we get around a campfire, and the boys are over there, and the men are over here, and it's just different, Obviously, it's different, because we don't talk recovery, and we don't hug each other, And there's just nothing like being at a NA function, and every once in a while I'll be camping with the scouts, and I'll feel distant, because I'd rather be here with you people. And I'm real glad I'm here today. Well, I could probably ramble on, but I'm going to read another piece out of our Just for Today in my closing. Fear or faith? Oh, this is from November 10th. No matter how far we ran, we always carried fear with us. It's basic text, page 14. For many of us, fear was a constant factor in our lives before we came to Narcotics Anonymous. We used because we were afraid to feel emotional or physical pain. Our fear of people and situations gave us a convenient excuse to use drugs. A few of us were so afraid of everything that we were unable even to leave our homes. Without using first. As we stayed clean, we replaced our fear with a belief in the fellowship, the steps, and a higher power. As this belief grows, our faith in the miracle of recovery begins to color all aspects of our lives. We start to see ourselves differently. We realize we are spiritual beings, and we strive to live by spiritual examples. The application of spiritual principles helps eliminate fear from our lives. By refraining from treating other people in harmful or unlawful ways, we find we needn't fear how we will be treated in return. As we practice love, compassion, understanding, and patience in our relationships with others, we are treated in turn with respect and consideration. We realize these positive changes result from our allowing our higher power to work through us. We come to believe, not to think, but to believe that our higher power wants only the best for us. No matter what the circumstances, we find we can walk in faith instead of fear. Just for today, I no longer need to run in fear, but can walk in faith that my higher power has only the best in store for me. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dennis, and I'm an addict.
Hi, Dennis.
That reading did bring back, that fear, that intense paranoia at the end of my using, where I couldn't go out and mow the yard. I couldn't go to the grocery store. One of the biggest fears in my life was standing in line at the grocery store. All those people around, and I just didn't feel like I was enough. That fear that they were better, and I just couldn't be enough. And I think that bottom, there wasn't enough of whatever I used out there to get through that anymore. And that first glimpse of faith was when I told somebody, I think I have a problem with drugs, and they said they could get me help. And there was a moment there where I could see a possibility that fear didn't have to be there. At first I thought, well, by saying that, I'm going to find somebody to fix me. That therapy, that treatment, that therapist, something is going to fix me. That's what I thought this recovery was going to be about. And I still thought that for a while until I found my first meeting. And I got a lot of faith from that first meeting. There's actually someone here from my very first meeting, and it's good to see him. Very good. And they had something. They had something there, that I wanted to grab a hold of. I wanted to be a part of it. I saw that they didn't have that fear. They weren't living in that fear that controlled my life. Absolutely. Absolutely controlled my life. And present to a little fear right now, just sharing a little bit. And the thing about, I've found out about emotions, though, I can't feel two at once. And that's the great thing about faith, is it displaces the fear, because you can't be in both places at once. At least I can't. There's not enough room. And a lot of faith is just going through a situation and having it working out, and then having that new memory to replace the old memories, the old new tape, the new information to replace the old. Because so long I just went through it with fear, and I had nothing different, because I never remembered the experience because I used. It's hard to learn about your life if you're getting high. And just the pure fact of going through a situation clean, I can learn something, and then I can improve on my faith with that. And those experiences allow it to grow. And like Bruce was sharing, I don't think I'll ever be a point where there is no fear in my life. At times it's a positive thing. It can motivate me. I can't think of a point of time for a long time that it's actually immobilized me. There was a time where, somebody asked me to share, and that fear would have kept me from coming up here. I still feel the fear, but you go through it, you sweat a little bit, you get a little nervous, and you just do it. And that's a lot of what life is, being clean. The fear's still there, you just go out there and do it anyways. There was a lot of time that all I've had is faith in myself and what I could do, and that's starting to change for me. That faith is, a lot of fear has been fear that things aren't going to turn out the way I want them to turn out. And once I let go of me having the plan, me knowing how my life is supposed to turn out, then I can let go of what I think it should be and have the faith that there's something better out there, some other plan that I don't even know, I don't even have a part of. I haven't planned it, it's going to happen, whether I want to take part or go dragging, screaming, kicking, and, crying about it. And that part of faith has changed, knowing that I'm not in control, that it's going to happen no matter what. And so that faith, there has to be some sort of higher power there. Whether time or life, I kind of, my higher power at times is just time alone. Just the knowledge that no matter what, that's going to go on. That time keeps moving, and no matter how bad I want to hold on to a point in time or a relationship at a point in time or whatever, things change, and time will change it no matter what, and I cannot fight that. Whether it's the fact of my children becoming teenagers, and then the next step, my teenagers, going off on their own and maybe becoming adults or whatever they end up doing, and there's no fighting that, and to me that's the highest power there could be, that no matter what, it's going to keep happening, and things are going to keep changing, and not fighting that helps with my faith. Not struggling with change. And there are times in my life where I actually look forward to change, where I just want to run out and grab it, take part in it and be a part of it. And that's where I fall back on the old thing of, well, I see what's happening here, I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to take off, and then I hit a brick wall because I had the plan again. I knew what I was doing. And it's going to continue to happen. And what I'm finding is the ability to decrease the amount of time it takes for me to let go of a conception, a preconception of what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be going. I believe it's real important to have some direction in my life, but to be so fixed in the outcome, in the destination, in whatever, is a waste of my energy at this point. And recently my daughter's gotten clean, and I thought, well, she was using, I'm going to be happy when she's clean, and now it's like, well, maybe when she gets a year clean and then starts hanging around with the right people in the program, and well, maybe when she works a good fourth step, and it's like, hey, she's alive, we can relate now. There's some less fear. And so it's back to that same thing, That fear comes back in when things aren't working out Dennis's way, and I want them to be my way. And I want her to have a chance at life. And I forget, even with my children, I'm just a messenger. And when it comes down to it, I cannot force anything. And that is something this fellowship's taught me, no matter what. Because I still have that urge at time to think I know best for you, for me, for the world. And it's funny, as the more successes I have, sometimes the more trapped I get in that. And and that's real important to try and keep some humility and recovery, and some sense of humor, and just enjoy where we're at. Before this fellowship, I don't even remember a moment of faith in my life. And maybe as a small child, I had faith that my parents could take care of me, but there's a breaking point where we lose that, and then we think it's in a relationship that, have faith in that other person can make things okay. Yeah. And now and then, I still tie that faith into people, and I try to get back to the same thing, a higher power, and may work through people, but the bottom line is, there may be some lessons, and my idea of the lessons I learned from people isn't the lessons I learned. So, I don't know. I think I've shared all I'm going to share, and I'd really like to thank Gary and the committee and everyone for asking me to share, and grateful to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. We can open up the floor for anyone who wants to share. Hi.
I'm an addict. My name is Skip.
Hi, Skip.
Gratefully recovering through the grace of God, the NA program, and the people. I can remember when I came to this program, and I was so consumed with fear. I was living in fear, where the fear of using became greater than the fear of living. And I decided that I didn't want to live anymore. Because I was afraid. I was just paranoid. I was full of fear. And being an addict, in denial, I wanted a back door. So I figured killing myself was the answer. You know what I mean? And I can remember, trying to do this and praying to my higher power to forgive me. And he brought me to this fellowship. And he gave me another chance at life. And I came to these rooms and I seen people not using. And I had started seeing people. I started to believe in people and start to have some faith in you people. Because that's where my faith began, was in you people, just not using. I came here and I heard about dreams, and hope. And they told me that my dreams were hopes. And my faith was believing in those dreams, and I read in the basic text where we thought recovery was just a dream, and I started to, have faith and believe that dream could be possible, and that was only through you people, we talk about, fear and faith are flip sides of each other, and the basic text talks about how our faith starts to become trust. And I started trusting this process, and my fears were lessened, and I still have fears. I mean, one of my greatest fears is using, and that's a great fear in my life, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to lose what I have today, and I worked a lot to get what I got, you know what I mean? And I don't want to throw it away, So whenever I see myself start to think that I'm socially acceptable now, you know what I mean, and well, I don't really need to do this and do that, I can go on, living my life without this program. You know, there's a bell that goes off and tells me, Skip, you need to get busy again. And I'm grateful for that awareness. But my fears are lessened. I can remember coming here and hearing, that fear could mean two things. And it could mean forget everything and run, or face everything and recover. And that sounded so great. I said, that was me. I mean, like I said, I was a backdoor artist. I always looked for wherever I was. I sat where there was a door. For me to just shoot out. So if something wasn't going my way, boom, there I was. I ran. And I was a professional escape artist. And today, I could walk through my fears. And know that I'm walking through them and I'm not alone. That there's somebody going to be there with me and somebody there when I get through it. And that's this fellowship. My faith in my higher power has grown immensely. I can remember hearing I come to the rooms and I like to talk about God and faith. You know what I mean? Like I'm jelly jam tight with my higher power now. You know what I mean? After being out there for so many years and cursing them. Now all of a sudden me and him are like hand in glove. And I talk about faith so much. And somebody told me, said, Skip, you talk about faith, but, do you act as if you have faith today? And they showed me the difference, just saying the words and acting as if, and I learned to act out on my faith today. Coming to this convention, I mean, a month ago, this is a very special place for me, and a month ago I wasn't coming here, because of financial difficulties, My car broke down, and it was just one thing after another. And things worked out, and I can remember in the back of my mind hearing that person tell me, Skip, where's your faith? Where's your faith at? And I put it in my higher power's hands, and things worked out, and I'm here, And I can remember the first time I acted out on faith was when I had to have this operation. I had a rod in my leg, and I had to make a decision whether I should get this rod taken out, because a lot of times it was an excuse for me to use. Not that I needed one, but it helped me along, and it enabled me and to get that sympathy. You know what I mean? Oh, my legs hurt. I need something. And I would hobble into the mom's house or hobble into somebody's house. You know what I mean? And I would get somebody to use. It was good. It was a good game going. And or get this job that I had been waiting all my life for, the family business. I was like the black sheep all the time, you know what I mean? I have, nieces and nephews that got into this business before me, and I was like passed over, and I felt real insulted, and finally I get this offer to get in this family business, and I got to make the decision, and I did a little bit of meditating, and I made the decision that I had to get this operation, and I put the faith in my higher power that another job would come. And it did. So faith does work, if I act out on it. And that's what I've learned in this program, to act out on faith and to walk through my fears, And this program has showed me that, because what I was using, it was like the latter part, forget everything and run, you know what I mean? And faith was just something people went inside this building and practiced, I didn't know nothing about that, I was on the outside. Looking in. And today, I'm in this circle. And I'm grateful to be here, and it's good to see a lot of familiar faces. Like I said, it's a very special place in my heart. I can close my eyes, and I can be somewhere, and I can picture myself here in this place, and it's this beautiful place. I can remember, I'll close this, shut up. I can remember hearing a speaker, in the main speaker building, and I was crying. The speaker came up to me and said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Because I got to leave here." And he said, "Skip, you take a little bit of this everywhere you go." And that really touched me. That it never ends, because you take a little bit with you, and I do that today. I'd like to wish you all love, peace, and recovery, and I keep coming back.
Okay, we need to end the workshop with a group hug and serenity prayer. problem.